you're ready, we're going to start with turn 1. And a game turn is divided into 6 phases. Phase 1 is called recovery. At this stage, all the players are going to do is each draw 1 event card and 1 story card from their own decks. If either player has more than 6 cards in their hand, then they discard now down to just 6. And then we move into phase 2, the General's activation. Free People's player gets 3 activation tokens. The Free Peoples can make up to 3 activations, or activate up to 3 generals. They don't have to activate, they could activate none if they wanted. But the generals we're activating, we're going to place a token on. Let's, for the sake of the first turn, let's activate 3 generals. And because we've activated 3 generals, we're going to get 3 leadership tokens. These are the leadership tokens. You can keep them in the player area, okay? Makes them more easily accessible. I like to just keep things nice and tidy in a way here. Now, leadership improves the movement and combat capabilities of an army. So we've got 3 leadership here. We've activated 3 generals, we've got 3 leadership tokens, and we can place these with any of our Free People's armies. They've got to go to separate armies, so I might choose perhaps 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. We have a general here, Di, and he's going to bring his own leadership, but more leadership means more control. The other benefit of the activation token here on the general is that we can use the general's ability. You can see it says, before choosing your action die, discard the activation token from this card to place 1 Dwarves and Men recruitment token in the camp, and so on and so on. Okay, so you can see that this is going to trigger Ironfoot's special ability once we get into the actions phase. Now the Shadow player, in the next phase, this is called the Fate phase, gets to draw a number of Fate tokens. And the number of Fate tokens drawn is up to the number of leadership that the Free People's just used, right? The number of generals they activated, so 3 in this case. They don't have to draw 3, but what we do is you draw the first one, we'll take a look at it. This is a particularly high value, a number 3. So the Shadow player may say, well, okay, I'm going to put that one to one side, and I'm going to draw again. Draw 1 more. We can't resort back to that one now, okay? This time we get a number 1 and a special icon. And we can stick with that, or we can choose to draw again. But that will be the 3rd and final time. Whichever, because we only got up to 3, the 3rd one we draw now would have to be the one we stick with. Okay? So you can't go back. So each time you're drawing, you're hoping to improve your position. If you worsen your position, well, that's just tough luck. So let's say we decide to stick with this one. Alright? The one we previously drew, that goes back in the bag. This one's going to get discarded after we've used it. It's got a number 1 on it. What this means is we move the Fate track up 1 spot, moves from 0 to 1. And it's also got this icon here, this Fate icon. Not all of the tokens do. But what this means is the Free People's immediately draws a Fate card and applies its effects. It says, redoubled in Wrath. Add 4 Wrath tokens to Beorn. Now it doesn't matter that Beorn's not in play. We just find his card. And we're going to place this next to it. And as soon as Beorn becomes in play, we flip him over, then we'll activate this. Alright, so just keep it there for the meantime. This Fate token is now discarded, it doesn't go back to the bag. Now we come to the Shadow leadership phase. Unlike Free People's, they get to choose 1 leadership token for every die in their pool. So currently that's 6. So you can grab 6, and it has to be 6. You can't take more, you can't take less. Alright, so 6. Now, the only thing you can do is, instead of taking a leadership token, you can replace as many as you wish with the Great Bats. So let's say I'm going to take 4 Great Bats and 2 leadership tokens. That gives me my sum of 6, equal to the number of dice I have, okay? Just as for the Free Peoples, you can place 1 leadership token with 1 army, no more. and then your great bats are going to give you a couple of advantages. The bat cloud gives your units more mobility, and vampire-like will allow you to do some extra damage in combat. Unlike our armies, the great bats, they don't get assigned to a specific region but a specific territory. Remember, we have 4 territories on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can put them in any territory. So I could put, my great bats up here. You can put more than one in a territory. Alright? But what I want to do is I want to be able to move my units more effectively under the shadow of these great bats. So I'm going to put a couple here. I'm going to put one here. And then perhaps a third one here. So I'm going to move my shadow forces under the shadow of this bat cloud. Now remember, so I'm going to say this again, the bats, they're not in any particular region, they're in the territory. So these ones are effectively in any region of the Broken Lands, the yellow territory, and this one is here in the valley. Now we move into the actions phase, and this is where we get to roll our dice and take our actions. So 3 peoples first. Let's go. We have 3 character action, 1 event action, and 1 Will of the West. Okay, pretty good. And now the shadow player. We have 2 muster. We have an army, 2 muster army, and a lidless eye. These dice are going to give us actions. 3 peoples is going to go first. You can pass if your opponent has more dice than you. So 3 peoples could pass straight away because they start with 5, shadow with 6. I'd like to start by getting some more armies into place. We've only got 1 muster die, which isn't going to help us too much. But I could use Bard's general ability. So before choosing an action die, it says, discard the activation token from this card and place 1 Dwarves and Men recruitment token in camp, or flip 1 Dwarves and Men recruitment token anywhere on the board. So I'm going to flip this one here in camp. Normally this takes a muster die. And we have some Lake Men. This allows us to place a Lake Men figure here, and then the recruitment token is permanently discarded from play. And now I'm going to use one of my action dice. Okay, and I'm going to use this Will of the West die. And the Will of the West is pretty good because you can use that to represent any other face value. I'm going to turn it into a muster. What muster does is it allows me to flip 2 recruitment tokens, but they have to be from different regions. So I'm going to choose this one here at the Fallen Bridge, and then this one here at the Ruins of Dale. This one gives me another unit of Lake Men, and this one a unit of Wood Elf Archers. Very good. This die is now used, we'll set it aside, and the turn passes to Shadow. Now Shadow has got a card here that I think he's going to like to use. Call to Arms would have been good, but it does require a character die, which we've not rolled. But we do have a muster die, and we can use this one to activate the Orc Army. Orc Army says we can place 5 orcs in 1 mustering region in Broken Lands. Then I may move 1 Shadow Army in Broken Lands up to 2 regions. But in order to trigger this card, I need to use the matching die, which is this muster. The muster die is normally used in the same way as Free Peoples to get these new recruitment tokens out on the board. But remember, we have the Great Bats. Normally, moving armies requires army dice, but with the Great Bats, you can use muster die as well. So this is the benefit of those Great Bats. As it goes, I rolled lots of armies anyway, so there you go. My bats are a little bit wasted. At least it will stop the Free Peoples from being tempted to wander into the Broken Lands. Anyway, 5 orcs. Where should we put them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's place them up here. And we're going to move 2 regions. So I think we'll move into this region here. What's important to remember is there's a stacking limit of 5. No region except a mustering point, these with these mustering points, can contain more than 5 army units. Alright, characters don't count. These recruitment tokens don't count. Leadership tokens don't count. I'll bring the leadership token with this army though, because it's an army being led. No more than 5 units in a region, so these 3 are going to stay behind. This die is used. We'll discard this card. Just place it under here to face up to save space. And the action moves back to 3 peoples. And this time I think we're going to use the event die. We got a couple of cards from the start. He's Not Lost allows us to place an eliminated general and then troop leader. Yeah, this one's used for combat. I'm going to use the event die, and by spending this I can draw 1 event card and 1 story card. See if we get anything better. Mustering for battle. Shower of arrows. Okay, good. Back to shadow. I'll take this lidless eye. I'll show you what this does. The lidless eye die is good for activating, getting your goblins moving. The mountain passes are closed right now. The goblins can't play a part in the battle. However, once there's 5 goblins in a mustering point, then the mountain pass will open and the goblins can pour down over the top. What a lidless eye lets you do is place 1 goblin in each muster point. We don't want to be fighting this battle just on 1 flank. Right, next we've got 3 character dice for 3 peoples. And character dice are good for us because they can get us moving our characters around. But I do want to try and get some more recruits on the board. So before we pick a die, I'm going to use Diane Ironfoot's general action. Before choosing your action die, discard the token from this card to place 1 Dwarves and Men recruitment token in camp. Just grab a token. And place it in camp. I'm going to build up some reserves here, I think. And now I can use my character die. And this is where you're going to find the leadership tokens come in useful. The character die will give you what's called the fast movement action. You can move 1 of your armies. Remember, we define an army as a group of these blue or red if you're shadow units. Your characters don't count as units, they can't form an army on their own. With leadership, up to 2 regions. So we're going to take the opportunity to move this army 1, 2 into here, mindful of this orc army approaching. Discard the die. Turn passes to shadow. The 3 peoples have invited an attack here. Swamps are terrain favoured by the orcs. If we look at these cards, these are the cards I said we refer to at some point. Each one of these has a terrain on them. This one has mountains. Goblins favour the mountains. Wargs the plains. Orcs have the swamp icon. They favour the swamps. That means they have terrain supremacy, and we're going to look at that as we come into combat. The army die lets me move and attack. The muster die lets me recruit. Remember, I can use the muster die to move in a territory where there's these great bats. The muster army die, these ones I can use for either. I've got quite a few options here right now, so I'm going to use this army muster as a muster and flip 2 recruitment tokens in 2 different regions. And we've got 4 orcs here, so I'm going to go for 1 here. That is an orc. And then 1 here as well. That's an orc. I could have moved in, but we're going to get some more units out. When you move, you can move 2 different armies, so I just want to build one of those armies up first, and then when I move I can advance 2 larger armies instead. Make sense? Okay, now it's the Free Peoples. We've only got 2 dice. Shadow has 3. There's a temptation to pass, see what Shadow's going to do and react, but I've got an idea of something I'm going to do. I want to get this in before Shadow responds. Let's use the general first of Thranduil. Thranduil's got a great archery manoeuvre, but we're not going to use that just yet. We can't as it goes, but we'll come back to that and I'll explain it. So we'll just use the general action, discard the activation token to place 1 elf recruitment token. This one's going in the Fallen Bridge. Now, spotting the danger, the Free Peoples are going to use one of their character dies to do a fast movement. And what we're going to do is move this whole army back 1 region onto the hills. The idea here is that I've got some advantage, and you'll see why on the next activation. Now we're going to have the Shadow player move their armies. We're going to use an army die, and this allows us to move 2 of our armies to an adjacent region. Remember, our goblins, they can't move yet. Let's see. Yeah, well, these ones are definitely coming down into the swamps. I'm going to move this orc army, 5 units, into these plains. Now it's the Free People's turn. They've got 1 character die left. Now it is tempting to wait and see what the Shadow player does. You know, we're thinking he's got 2 dice left. There's a chance he's going to move twice and come in and attack me on these hills. But that's okay. I'm happy to draw him into me because this guy, he has superiority in the swamps. But I'm not going to pass. I'm going to use my character die and use the initiative that I have to play an event card from my hand. And it's going to be Shower of Arrows. You can play a card from your hand if you've got a die that matches the symbols. I've got 3 with character, 1 with muster. I can't play this one. Don't want to play these 2, but I do want to play Shower of Arrows. And it says make an archery attack following the same rules as Thranduil's archery ability, but this time we get successes on a roll of 4+, and draw an event card. Thranduil's ability says that we can choose any region on the board containing an enemy army, and we roll 1 die for each Wood Elf archer or Lakeman unit in hills or mountains within range of that region. Normally you score success 5+, but because of our Shower of Arrows it's going to be 4+. So here's our units. We're here on the hills. The terrain icon tells us so. What's in range? Well, now we use this little range finder. It's got 2 sides. It's only for appearance really. Gandalf's got a ranged attack and obviously this archery attack as well. And what you have to do is place the rangefinder totally within the region you're attacking from. And if the rangefinder touches or crosses another region, then you're within range. Now, it can be a little bit dodgy. Is this mustering point here on the hills of Dales within range? Well, it touches, and if it touches, it's in range. Alright, as long as you're completely within and it touches. So it's a close one, but you can see it does just touch. That's good enough. As it goes, this is our target region here. So yeah, we're in range and we've got 4 units here. You've got a set of black and white 6-sided dice to use. We'll grab 4 dice. We're looking for 4s+. And, oh, it's a terrible roll. It's 50-50 on each die, and we've got 3 misses and only 1 hit. And that means the unit suffers 1 damage. These are our damage tokens. We just place these on the affected army. And the important point here is that there aren't any casualties yet. Only once the number of damage tokens exceeds the number of units in an army do you have to take casualties. You have the option to take casualties and remove damage tokens, but the army is just going to carry the walk-in wounded until the number of damage counters exceeds the size of the army. We'll see this play out more once we get some more sustained damage. Also, I missed this one, these lake men here are in range of the target here on the eastern spur. So yeah, I got an additional die, that's 5. You can only have a maximum of 5, okay? You can't roll more than 5. Let's roll again, remember we're looking for 4+. Oh, that's a 2. Okay, as we were. That's Shower of Arrows played, we'll discard, and then it says draw an event card for the Free Peoples. We'll see what that is in a minute. For now, it's the Shadow player, and yeah, the Shower of Arrows didn't do as much damage as the Free Peoples hoped. So we're going to continue with our march, and we're going to take these swamps while we can. So let's use the muster die as movement by removing one of our great bats from the region. Remember, the bat cloud says we can use a muster die to move that army. And we're going to use that movement to move this army across the ford into the ruins of Dale. And then finally, since the Free Peoples have no dice left, they can't take any more actions, we get to use a remaining die. It's an army muster die. We're going to use it as another army die and move. This time it's a strategic movement. We can move 2 units, 1 adjacent region. So these guys are coming down and these guys are coming down. And we've completed the actions phase. The final phase, the 6th phase of the turn, is to clear up any bats remaining on the board and any leadership tokens. Now, we wasted a little bit of time here. I was hoping to get the camp moving in this direction, but yeah, we got a little bit stuck around these hills. That's it for now. Join me next time and we'll begin a new turn.